let's talk about the 1975 album by the Beach Boys, Spirit of America. This is a compilation album of the Beach Boys' greatest hits, or some of their greatest hits, running back earlier. What had happened was the Beach Boys had switched labels. So at this time, they were actually recording for a new label. Capitol Records decided they'd take one more pass at getting some money out of the Beach Boys. So they took some of their old songs and created a best of album in 1974 called Endless Summer. Well, that album was a hit. It sold very well. So they followed it up next year with this album in 1975, Spirit of America, which also is a compilation of some of their older songs. Now, if you went in the store to buy this in 1975, this is what you would have seen on the front. Now, remember, they were wrapped in plastic at the time, so you would have seen this, and then you would have been able to look at the back. That's what you would have seen in the back. You weren't able to open it up, and you weren't able to look on the inside. But you see, this has got just a fantastic cover on it. Looks like they went to a lot of work to put everything on here. One downside or strange quirk on this area right here is actually a sticker. Looks like they forgot to put the name of the songs on the album. They're on the inside but not on the outside. If you're in the store though trying to find them, you really can't know what the songs are, so they put a sticker on it. It's covering up a horse in the Miss America badge here. This is Miss America on top of it. But when you got it home and opened it up, this is what you would see. You see, this is a great panorama, and it's one great example of how they put a lot of thought into the covers, or put a lot of work. There's so much in here. This has really got just a cross section of all American stuff. Let's just start in the lower right hand corner, where it's got a girl on it with a Playboy bunny on it. Playboy magazine was very large at the time. You've got a bottle here. This seems like it says Coke on it, but you can't really read it. It looks like maybe they were trying to sneak it in. We got a coin with 1776. That's, of course, the time of Americans' founding. Baseball glove, America's pastime, and then on the Man on the Moon. Little ball here that may be a reference to the astronaut that actually hit a golf ball on the moon. So apparently one of them snuck a golf club on there and hit a golf ball on the moon. Moving back over to the right side, there's an apple pie. Americana is apple pie. You've got an eagle on here, the Liberty Bell. One way, I'm not really sure what that means, other than it's just a normal street sign on here. Mickey Mouse with his ears, Native American. Remember, this is 1975. This is long before political correctness hit. You've got Mount Rushmore up here on the side. Even this part, the airplanes drawing the name of the clouds. That was very common at the time, skywriting. You have a superhero eating popcorn and a hot dog, both associated with movies, which is all American, and hot dogs are, baseball hot dogs and apple pie. Also all American. Down here at the bottom, you've got a turkey. Of course, you've got the stars in the background. You've got a lion. Strangely enough, it's got some wording here you can't read, so I'm not really sure what that means. Gangster looks like an old Chicago style gangster. Peace sign. The anti-war movement was just starting to die down at this point, but it had been pretty big for about a decade. So in 1975, the peace sign was still a big important symbol. The woman here is from Miss America, the Miss America pageant. You've got Statue of Liberty, an American flag, a TV dinner, which was huge at that time. It was just a thing where they'd come in the little trays, looked like that. Got perhaps DeSoto, a Spanish explorer, Uncle Sam, surprisingly a red coat, speaking British. Apparently, I'm not sure why that's all American other than American roots. And then you've got footballer or player with cleats, fish. You've got the Goodyear blimp. And then, interesting, it looks like they snuck some politics in here too. AU is the symbol for gold, and H2O is the symbol for water, so it's Goldwater. Barry Goldwater ran for president as a Republican in 1964, so it looks like they stuck a little politics in there. Of course, the Beach Boys were always conservative group. They did support Republicans. They were very close to the Bush and Reagan administration. But it's surprising the record label kind of snuck that in there, because I'm pretty sure the Beach Boys weren't involved with creating this album because it was their former record company. But a lot of great stuff just here on the front. I'd like to talk a little bit about the logos that are on the front of this too, because they have snuck a lot of logos in here that you may not realize that are actually in here. There's the Playboy logo, which was a large magazine at the time. Capitol Records, that's really the record company's logo that's there, and it's over here. You kind of expect that, but you've got the Playboy logo. It looks like they snuck a Coke logo in here, or tried to. You've got Mickey Mouse is also on here. Miss America. The Goodyear blimp, it's not as big today, but it was a big time symbol at the time. And then you've got Puma, the Puma logo for Puma shoes. They only give credit for one in here, and that's the Mickey Mouse one. I'll show you that to you in a bit, but listed on the inside. But every other one, they've not written on here that they're using the permission for that logo. Let's talk a little bit about the fine print on here before we go to the look at the inside. We'll just start at the lower left. It's got the Capitol logo. In the middle, it's got EMI, which was the parent company of Capitol at the time. It's printed in USA. Let you know it's manufactured by Capitol Records, a subsidiary of Capitol Industries Inc., Hollywood Vine Streets, Hollywood, California, factories Los Angeles, California, Jacksonville, Illinois, Winchester, Virginia. It's interesting that they listed the factories on there. I don't know why they did that. They've also got a statement on here that this record is engineered and manufactured in accordance with standards developed by the Recording Industry Association of America, Inc., a non-profit organization dedicated to the betterment of recording, music, and literature. Again, they've got a statement in here letting you know that, hey, this is a standard record. And you see you've got the RIAA logo right over here. That you can see, and also the copyright. Actually, it's P 1975 Capitol Records Incorporated. Again, you've got the Capitol sign here up at the top. In this section, you've got letting you know that all selections were previously released on various Capitol singles and albums. So it's a it's a compilation album. There is no new material on here. You've got the album number on the front and the back up here. And you also have that on the spine down here. There's a number in parentheses, 0698. And at the top, you have the name of the album, The Beach Boys' Spirit of America. So actually a lot of fine print on the outside of this album, considering how much is on here. But as I said, this is a fantastic artwork. It's kind of a cartoon style artwork, or poppy cartoon. This was very popular in the late 60s, early 70s. These kind of look, it's also almost like a Peter Max look to it that gives you this kind of a collage of just kind of almost cartoony style stuff. Okay, let's talk about the inside. Now this is a folding album, so it comes up and it folds open like that. And as you can see, they put a lot of work into the inside too. A lot of folding albums, they kind of work on the outside, and the inside they just don't have much, but they really add a lot to the inside on this one. On the left side, you've got pictures of the Beach Boys. That is Dennis Wilson, Al Jardine, Brian Wilson, Carl Wilson, and Mike Love. Now, they had more members over the years, but that's the ones they chose to highlight in here. It's kind of a collage of all the Beach Boys through the years. In their various looks, they went from kind of a clean-cut band to kind of a bearded hippie look by this point. This picture down at the bottom is kind of interesting, though, in that it's all in dark shadow. It kind of contrasts with everything else, which is really clear. I'm not exactly sure why they decided to put this in at this point, but kind of mix up. But a lot of really great pictures of the Beach Boys through the years. Over on the right side, you've got Dick Clark, who was hosted a television show from the 1950s. American Bandstand probably went through the 1970s. I don't know if it was still on in the 80s. But the show was called American Bandstand, and you can see they've put enough name here to reference it. Again, it's kind of in that same cartoony style that the outside is in. Not quite a caricature, but a little bit of a cartoon look to it. So you can see they've also got a little footnote here, and finally the song titles, which they didn't have to put on the outside, or didn't remember to put on the outside. Interesting note here, just on the color, they've chosen purple, green, and gold for the colors. Those happen to be the colors of Mardi Gras in New Orleans, so I have to wonder if that was on purpose or accident that they made another reference to an American tradition or institution. But going back to this, the script font is Kaufman, which was developed in 1936. Looks like the other font is just Helvetica in an italic font. And then again, the colors are purple and green, and it looks like black, but I think when you get up really close on this, it looks like there's a little red in it when you really bring it up. But it's got the listing of all the songs on here: Dance, 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 Breakaway, A Young Man Is Gone, 409, The Little Girl I Once Knew, Spirit of America, Little Honda, Hushabye, Hawaii, Drive-In, Good to My Baby, Tell Me Why, Do You Remember This Car of Mine, Please Let Me Wonder, Why Do Fools Fall in Love, Custom Machines, Barbara Ann, Salt Lake City, Don't Back Down, When I Grow Up to Be a Man, Do You Want to Dance, Graduation Day. Now remember, this was a follow-up to the Endless Summer album, and they originally had not planned to put this album out. So they put most of their greatest hits on the Endless Summer album, or their largest hits. So that's why some of these songs seem a little bit obscure for a Beach Boys compilation album, because it's really the part 2, or their greatest hits part 2. And they filled out 2 albums with it. The Beach Boys had a lot of songs. A little bit down here on the, talk about the fine print. There's a little bit on here, not a whole lot. Of course, 1975 Capitol Records, reissue coordinated by John Zanna, disc mastering Ken Perry, art direction Roy Kohara, illustration Keith McConnell, and illustration of Mickey Mouse character, copyright 1975 Walt Disney Productions. So of all those logos we talked about, the only one that actually gets a mention is the Walt Disney one. Again, over here in the upper right, you've got the album number, which seems odd to put it on the inside, but they did put it on the inside. Okay, as far as the album cover itself goes, it's printed on stock. A lot of album covers, most of them actually in the 60s, they were on like a brown cardboard stock, and then they printed paper and they glued it onto the album covers. This one is printed directly on a white stock. Let me see if I can get you a view on it. And this is, I'm not sure exactly when they turned to this, but they're definitely well into it. You can see it's, if I can get this corner up here, see it's just glued at this point where it's stocked up on it. So it's white stock and it's just been directly printed onto the album cover, or onto the stock and then folded into the album cover. So there's no paper over glue on this at all. Okay, now let's talk about the album or the records themselves. Let's take them out of here to the side and look at the actual records. They come in a paper sleeve, which was pretty common for the time. This one is bent on the side, which is also pretty common. During the production in the factory, they just shove those things in there. Normally they're slipped into the sleeves with an opening at the top. So they slip in like that. You'll find that a lot of people, when they got them home, turn them that way so they can just pull them out. But that's actually the incorrect way to store them, and the reason is obvious, is because they slide out. If you carry them wrong, a lot of times the record would slide out. But this has a paper sleeve which is bent. Unfortunately, you have to be very careful when you take them out of a paper sleeve that's bent, because you risk scratching the record. Now these discs have the orange Capitol record label. There's nothing really special about these. At the time, a lot of times they would print, when they did artwork this extensive, they would also do the artwork on the label. They decided not to on this. It's the standard Capitol record orange label at this point. It says Capitol at the bottom. Has the album number SVBB-11384, and the list of the albums, that looks like it's probably Helvetica for the font on everything. Nothing really fancy on this. There is an interesting quirk on these though. If you notice that side 4, on the other side of that is side 1, which doesn't make any sense unless you understand how turntables worked at the time. So what they would do is they would take the albums and they would stack them on a turntable. So you would have side 1, and then you would stack another one that would be sitting on top of it, side 2. So they would stack and then they would drop. Not sure the best way to. So you play side 1, then you play side 2, and then you turn it over, and then the bottom record would be side 3, and then the next one side 4. So this album was made to be played on a turntable from the side 1, first song all the way to the last song. They expected you to play the whole album through, and they've made it easy for you by doing the sides like that. Most records didn't do that, so that's a nice touch by Capitol here on this album. Slide this back into their sleeves so I can help protect them. This has also got a nice little touch that you don't see very often. See where there's a lip here? It actually makes it easier to slide the record into there. If I can get it out of here. And you just slide it in there and into the sleeve it goes. And that is 1975's Spirit of America by the Beach Boys. This is a great album cover, nice piece of history. If you've ever seen this as a CD, it's horrendous what they did to this album cover. They just butchered it. But another great example of with albums back in the 60s and 70s, how much more you got than just the record and the music itself. They really made a whole event out of it.